Okay.
Okay, so this is Jason from the University of Houston, and I'm going to be doing some history of La Carafe. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself and how you know, how you're associated with the bar.
I'm Carolyn Wingler, and I have had the bars now for 25 years as of this month. And this was one of the two, this one in Warren's End. But the La Carafe is the oldest commercial building in Houston on its original site. It was, there was a fire down here in 1859, and everything burned down here. Everything was made out of wood. So everything that in this whole area burned down, and so this was the first one rebuilt. And then John Kennedy opened it up as a bakery, and he had his ovens in here. He had 2 ovens, I believe, inside, and he had some outside as well. And then he had, he kept this open as a bakery, and he fed hardtack to the Confederate Army. And he proceeded to eventually, was trading with the Indians here, the Lipan and the Cabashada Indians. And they'd come in with their pelts, and they'd bargain with them over supplies that they wanted. And they'd throw down their pelts and want to know how many pelts, and they'd tell them how much it would take to buy a certain item.
Just 1 second, really quickly. Okay, so we just moved upstairs because to get away from the noise really quickly. So you were telling me about how this used to be an area where there was some trading, natives were here, things like that.
They were trading with the Cabashada and the Lipan Indians, and they'd come in with their pelts, and they would have put down their pelts, and he'd tell them how many pelts it would take to buy a certain item, and they'd just trade back and forth. Okay. Then we had the Pony Express stop here, and they were come up here, and they'd go down the alleyway to the back to water their horses and things back there. They had the privy in the back, which was now part of the restrooms for the La Carafe. And we had, I've been told that the stagecoach stop had at one point in time been here too, but I'm not too sure about that. I'm sorry, my voice is bad. But they traded with the Indians, and then they became the trading post, and they traded slaves and everything else here at the time. We don't normally say much about that because of the way things are now. You don't say much about something like that. But we had, wait a minute, stop it. It became apothecary for 53 years as well. And it became a little Mexican hairdressing salon for a short while. Okay. And then it became the La Carafe in the about mid-50s. James Harrison opened it up as the La Carafe. And then when Bill Berry bought the property, William B. Berry bought the property in bought the business in 1963. He changed the name to La Carafe. And then in 1970, he bought the property from the estate of Ethel Brule, who was the granddaughter of John Kennedy. And John Kennedy had 3 children. And the first one was Daniel, who got the corner piece of property. And Mariel Foley was the daughter, and she got the second piece of property. And James, or John Kennedy, got the third piece of property. And his wife Matilda got the very north piece, the north one. And the Carafe. She got both pieces. So when she passed away about 8 years later, Daniel Kennedy got the La Carafe property from her estate. And so he ran both places for a while, and did a lot of work here too. I mean, they did restoration. His grandchildren did some restoration here. Ethel Brule's children did some restoration. And they proceeded to run this until she passed away in I think it was October the 9th of 1968 when she passed away. And so they sold the property then to Bill Berry in early 1970. And he proceeded to keep it going because he was already running the bar here at that time. And he did a pretty good job of it. And he went around the world a few times, and he brought back a lot of pieces of antiques and so forth that he has in the building, I'm pretty sure. I know the portrait downstairs was of Gladys Burrell Knox, And she was, that painting was made between 1919 and 1923. And she was a very pretty English lady, and believe it or not, that dress that she had on was white when I first saw that portrait. And it needs to be cleaned very badly right now. But anyway, the bars, though, continued in his name until Warren bought the property in 1970. And 1987, he bought the property in 1987, January. He passed away about a little less than a year and a half later. And I ended up owning 2 bars at that point in time. And I was one that never was at the bars very much. I never drank very much, so I was kind of like having learned all about the bar business. It was kind of a fast learning operation. Anyway, the Lacroix, though, has a lot of antiques in here, and there's some wall sconces up here that came out of a theater up in New York. I don't know where he got the French carousel horse. And there's a lot of other antiques here that I have not the foggiest idea when he got them or how, but there are a lot of really unusual pieces here. And I think they should stay together if anything ever happened. This place should remain like it is.
Yeah. Well, can you tell us a little bit about some of your favorite items around here, like antiques that are... it's all interesting, but what would you say are a few of the most interesting pieces in here?
Well, I guess the portrait downstairs is the most unique one. The portrait of Gladys Burrell Knox. That was a really nice piece.
Yeah.
And it's the center point of the downstairs. There used to be a Tiffany lamp downstairs. It was a large round Tiffany. And when Bill left here, he came back and picked up the lamp because he was afraid somebody would break it. And he wanted $100,000 for that lamp, and I couldn't afford $100,000. So he took it with him.
Yeah.
But it was a gift to him from Dr. Loomis up in New York. So it was a very unique piece, though. Okay. He said he had it authenticated as being original Tiffany, by Tiffany. So that was kind of unique.
A few things that I've noticed and that I think might be interesting to some people. For instance, the register downstairs.
It's a 1914 National Cash Register. It's all brass and heavy as sin. At one point in time, I was going to have that work done, and we took it down to a repair shop here in town. They said yes, they knew how to repair them, and so we took it over to them, and they proceeded to supposedly work on it. And then all of a sudden, one of my bartenders happened to be driving by there and saw they were going out of business, and our register was there, and so he and one of the customers took off out of here and went and picked it up and told them, "We're taking our register." And so they brought it back. If we hadn't, I think we would have lost it.
Yeah. Now, in this building, could you tell us just a little bit about? So this is on the National Register, Historic Register, and stuff like that. Could you tell us just a bit about your involvement with making it a historic site? Like, were you involved with any of that, or
No,
was that before?
Was Bill Berry.
Okay,
that was Bill Berry, William B. Berry. He went down and had it registered with the historic people.
Okay.
And had all that already behind us by the time I got it.
All right.
Yeah.
But you've been involved with the with Lacroix for 25 years, right?
Right.
So over that span of time, any interesting events that have happened here? Any sort of notable individuals that have come through the doors that you know of? Anything like that? So.
Well, what was the name of the lady that had an affair with Clinton?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, Monica Lewinsky.
She was here.
Really?
Yeah.
When was this?
It's been a few years back.
Okay.
But she was here one night.
Wow.
I wasn't here, but she was here. I heard about it.
Now, I hear some stories about, and I don't know much about this, but Liberace coming here sometimes.
Yeah, well, Liberace and my brother, Liberace's manager and Bob Sidney, who was a choreographer in California, were real good. Well, Warren and Bob Sidney were real good friends, and he was good friends with Liberace's manager. Mm-hmm. and they'd bring Liberace down, and they'd come in the old Warren's Inn over there, and I'm sure they came over here as well.
Okay.
Because they were friends with Bill, and all of them, all the guys were friends.
Okay.
Had been friends for a number of years.
Warren's Inn, this place, La Carafe, and then also Alibaba. They were all run by Warren at one point. And
The Alibaba, and then he bought Warren's Inn over here on Milam, 316 Milam.
Okay.
And then when he lost that one over the sewer line, he bought where we are now with Warren's Inn at 307 Travis, as well as the Carafe.
Okay.
And that was in January of 1987, I'm sorry, 1987.
Well, it's interesting to me because we've got, John Kennedy, who originally bought this area, he had several businesses here too. And so in a lot of the same ways, Warren too, apparently he had his hands involved in a lot of different businesses in this area as well. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, he loved this area. Warren loved this area, and he wanted to stay here. Even when it was the businesses were down, he stayed. Most every place else folded their doors and left.
When was this?
I want to say in the late 60s. No, wait, it was late in the 70s, I guess it was.
Okay.
A lot of the businesses had left down here and for better picking, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, Warren, he liked this area and he believed in this area, and so he stayed.
Yeah.
And so when he kept on with the Alibaba, and then he had the Warren's Inn over on Milam, and then he moved over onto Travis Street to Warren's Inn over there. He bought the building over there and this one as well.
Okay. To jump back a little bit, John Kennedy, what do you know about him? He was the original owner of this location, right? Yeah. So could you just tell us a little bit about his history, what you know about him?
Well, the little bit of history I know about John Kennedy was that he was a baker, and that he ran some stores. He was good at trading. He was good at actually, I guess, running businesses. He was very wealthy, as I understand. He not only owned this property 100 by 100 foot here on the corner, but he also owned some acreage elsewhere. He owned 2 or 3 tracts of land elsewhere, which were large tracts of land. So when he passed away, some of the land went to different children and so forth. But this right here, he divided up with his son Daniel, Mariel Foley, and James or John Kennedy. I believe it's probably John Kennedy, and his wife Matilda. So I don't know a whole lot about him other than the fact he owned this property, and he did run the bakery, and he sold hardtack to the Confederate Army, and he furnished the hardtack or something anyway to the Confederate Army. And he loved to trade with the Indians, and he was good guy. He lived across the street over here on the other side of Travis Street in a nice home over on the 200 block of Travis Street.
Okay. To ask a little bit about, to move away off the history for just a bit, there's all these stories about this place being haunted. I mean, what do you have to say about all that?
Well, I've had some people tell me some wild stories. One of them, this guy had gone to the restroom in the back there, and he had his back to the front door, and somebody came in there and put his hand on his shoulder. He turned around and looked. There was nobody there. He took out the front door. I don't think he ever came back. But there have been a few people that have gotten scared because they were, somebody would do something
Yeah.
And up here, I had a bartender from the other place. Saw one of the bartenders up here that had been dead for a few years, and saw him up in the window after closing.
What?
And one of the bartenders here that didn't know the guy saw him out there in that window too, and he described him to a T. Never met him.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have not run into them. The median has been here and has done some readings here about the ghosts around this area. And usually she sit up in the front of the second floor here.
Yeah.
And she said there was a little child, maybe a little boy, that was bouncing a ball around here. And this was, rolling around, bouncing the ball. But one night, I had a bartender that had quit. And he had come back and worked for about 5 or 6 different shifts. And he decided he was going to come upstairs after he got through with the last shift he worked. he was going to come upstairs and do something, put something up or something. And he started up the stairs, took about 2 or 3 steps up, and all of a sudden he heard this rolling sound upstairs. He backed back down. He waited for a little bit, and then he decided to go again. And so he started up the stairs again, and he started rolling again. He said, "I'm out of here." He wouldn't come back upstairs.
Wow. So do you have a lot of people coming here just because of the ghosts? Do you ever have like just...
Well, during Halloween and around that time of the year, they have a lot of ghost tours and things coming in. We have a lot of people that just are curious about the building, and they've read about it, and maybe they're from out of town or sometimes in town, but a lot of these people from out of town want to see, what this is all about.
Yeah.
And so they come in, look around, and take pictures, and sometimes they bring a tour bus up, and they'll come in with the tour bus.
Wow. So as far as the bar itself, and the businesses and stuff like that, you said that you normally keep this upstairs closed during the week, but during the weekend you open it up.
We open it up on Friday and Saturday night at 9 o'clock. We're open from 9 to 2 normally up here on Friday and Saturday night, and we also open it for parties.
Okay.
We lease it out for parties once in a while, and
Now, I saw a sign downstairs that said wine tasting on Thursdays or something like that.
the first Thursday of every month we have wine tasting,
Okay, very nice.
and we have sometimes a pretty good showing, live wine tasting, and we have a lot of cheeses and a little bit of snacks and so forth that they have out on the table up there.
Anything else that you have going on like that? Like, I know you said sometimes you have crawfish or something.
Well, once in a while we have some customers that actually put on their own show, so to speak, maybe out on the corner lot, and which I acquired a few years ago now. It's 4 or 5 years ago or so. I acquired the corner lot, and they go out there and they'll set up tables and maybe even tents sometimes, and have a crawfish boil or some kind of an event outside. And I've even had it. Some of the lawyers down here even rented it out one time to feed everybody that came along.
Oh.
Yeah.
So just people that were walking around, he would be willing. Wow, that's very interesting.
Yeah, they'd be handing them out food, Cokes and Sprite and chips and food, barbecue or whatever they were serving.
Yeah, wow, that's cool. The other businesses in this area, are you still affiliated with Warren's? Or are you still running that and
Oh,
stuff
yes,
like that?
very definitely.
Okay.
I still have both of them open. I'm still running both of them. I'm over there more than I am here, actually, as far as running the businesses, because once in a while I end up buying the bar over there, attending bar if somebody doesn't show up, or if they get too busy, I may be bar backing. I could be doing anything.
All right.
And
Now, I haven't been to Warren's yet, so what's the difference between Warren's and La Carafe?
there's quite a lot of difference, actually. Warren's has the big chandeliers up in their antique chandeliers that came out of the Cat House in New Orleans.
Oh, wow.
And it's got fans up in the ceiling there, and it's got kind of a horseshoe-shaped bar, and a lot of people sit around the bar during the day or day and night sometimes. But then we have people that come in big parties, and they'll sometimes bring in a party. We never rent out over there. They can bring in a party if they let us know ahead of time that we have. They want to bring in 20, 30 people.
Yeah.
And as long as they let us know ahead of time, and it's okay with the bartender, then they bring the party in.
Okay.
And usually it's okay with the bartender, but that only means that they usually do better with themselves as well.
Okay. So as far as the future of La Carafe, I mean, do you foresee yourself getting out of this business anytime soon? Are you pretty happy just continue going on with it?
I'm pretty happy with the business, but if I do decide to get out, my son's going to get in.
Okay. So does he work here at all?
No, he's
right
not
now?
working here right now.
Okay.
He's busy with other things.
All right, yeah. But it's going to stay in the family then?
It'll be staying in the family.
Yeah, that seems to be the story of La Carafe, because with the Kennedys having had it, for a while, and then it continuing with your brother and you, and now going to your son. So that whole notion of keeping it in the family seems strong. And this, what I've noticed also too, is like, now I haven't been here at night, but the crowd here seems very friendly. Like, I've been here during the day, and I've had a chance just to talk with people. Everybody says hello. Everybody is very welcoming, and I think that's that's something that's missing, I think, from a lot of other bars sometimes, is that sense of friendliness. So.
Well, you'll have maybe an attorney sitting there talking to somebody that's in the trade business or something else, you know, and they'll sit down, they'll start talking. There's no TV to watch.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true.
They're going to sit there, and are they going to sit there by themselves and just look around, or are they going to sit and talk to somebody?
Yeah.
They're usually going to try to find somebody to talk to, or, you know, and usually the people here have been real friendly. And we have all kinds of people.
Yeah.
They're not just one kind, it's all kinds.
Well, I guess just to close the interview, somebody visiting Houston for the first time, and they're thinking about a place to go, what would you tell them about La Carafe? Like, why should they come here? And also, like, if they do come, what's something just to look out for when they visit?
It's a very unique bar to start with the candles behind the bar that get larger and larger as time goes on. And it's a very romantic bar.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of people that bring their dates in here, the first dates or whatever. And we've had wedding receptions. We've had.
Oh, you do those sort of things too?
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we do. They bring their own decorations and they set up their own agenda as far as their whatever they want to serve or whatever.
Very cool.
And so it works out very well. But I let them bring in their stuff usually, if rather than me trying to furnish all the food and stuff. Let them bring in what they want.
Yeah, that seems like a good way to do it too. I mean,
since we don't have a kitchen here,
you
know, there's no kitchen, there's no way to do anything here other than the tin bar basically.
Yeah.
And they can set up a table and put up a food tray or something or other, you know, if they want. Or a fudge bowl and whatever they want to do, you know.
Well, you know, just to say thank you, first of all, for taking the time out of your day. And by the way, just for the record, Caroline has an infinite amount of stories she could tell about this place. I think I was here for maybe an hour before we even got to the interview. So just for the record, it's worth coming to because there's there are 100 stories to tell about every single thing in this place. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jason.
It was all my pleasure. And again, everybody has been so friendly here. The bartenders have been friendly. Patrick, the manager, has been friendly, and you've been so courteous. So thank you so much. I'm going to close the record now.
Well, thank you.
So thank you so much.